This is a rock on the planet Mars, and if you look right in the middle, here at these dark spots, then you will see what remains of ancient Martian life. Or at least that's probably what you're looking at. This is what NASA revealed in September 2025.
Very well could be the clearest sign of life that we've ever found on Mars, which is
the clearest evidence ever discovered of alien life. And it's inside a sample of rock collected by the Perseverance Mars Rover. Now, what is it about these spots that tells us life must exist on another planet? Well, that is complicated, but today we're going to figure it out. First, let's talk about where on Mars the alien rock was found. This is the Jezero crater, the landing site for NASA's Perseverance rover, the most advanced robotic explorer we've ever sent to the Red Planet. NASA chose this landing site for a very specific reason. It's believed that there was a time billions of years ago when this round basin was filled with liquid water. And the reason why we think Jezero was actually an ancient lake is because of this gap in the rim, where we see pretty clear evidence that a river of water has flowed down from the nearby highlands and emptied into the crater. That is the spot where Perseverance landed in 2021, at the mouth of the river, and that's also where NASA believed that they would have the best possible chance at finding evidence just like what we are looking at today. So, if life existed on Mars, then it would have been located in a place just like this. But that does not mean it would be easy to find. It took 3 years of exploration before Perseverance finally came upon this one very strange-looking rock poking up out of the sand. What makes this rock so special is that dark, repeating pattern that runs across the surface. NASA calls the little specks poppy seeds, and the larger shapes are leopard spots. Now, let's establish a sense of scale here before we go any further, because the photo that we've been looking at is actually an extreme close-up. So even the bigger leopard spots are just 1 or 2 millimeters across, meaning that the alien life responsible for this would have been very small. We're talking about microbes and bacteria, which on their own are too small to be found by Perseverance. So what we're looking for is evidence that these microbes once existed, the things they would have left behind. And that is what those dark spots represent, a waste product created by active microbial life. In very simple terms, this is fossilized Martian poop. Or at least that's the most likely explanation we have right now. The first thing that NASA did after spotting the mysterious pattern was to send in the rover's robotic arm and use its full collection of scientific instruments to start figuring out what was going on down there. The initial observations showed that this is sedimentary rock, meaning that it was formed slowly over millions of years as the river flowed through and deposited layers of minerals into the muddy ground. Then, as those layers got compacted down under their own weight and the river dries up eventually, the mud hardened into stone. On Earth, sedimentary rocks often contain fossils because plants and animal remains will get caught up in the layers and preserved by the hardening process. What's interesting about this particular location is that it contains some of the youngest sedimentary rock that NASA has ever found on Mars. It's about 3 billion years old. That means the window for a habitable Mars is wider than we would have thought, and if true, it tells us that there was life on Earth and Mars at the same time, both developing in a very similar way. But the only way to know for sure is to go deeper with our investigation. You can see this in a self-portrait taken by Perseverance in July 2024. The team operating the rover already knew that this would be a moment worth commemorating. There's the rock right in the middle of the frame, and the little white circle is where the rover's drill cut and extracted a sample that might someday be brought here to Earth for further study. But we'll come back to that later. signs of Martian life. They had the Viking probe conduct a simple experiment where it scooped up a small amount of Martian soil and then squirted it with a mixture of water and nutrients. The idea was that if there were microbes alive in the soil, then they would drink the water, eat the food, and create a byproduct, very similar to what we've been talking about so far. And in this case, NASA was specifically looking for the release of CO2 gas from the sample, and that is exactly what they found. After the nutrient water was added to the soil, it produced CO2, which would indicate a biological process, and for a moment there, scientists thought they had proven the existence of alien life. But the celebration didn't last long. While alien biology is one explanation for the CO2, it's not the only explanation. There are plenty of chemical combinations that can produce CO2 gas, like when you add vinegar to baking soda. Neither of those things are alive, and there was no evidence of organic material found in the Viking soil samples, meaning there were none of the ingredients for life to exist in the first place. So all they really had was a bit of CO2 gas, and the experiment was labeled inconclusive. The astronomer Carl Sagan coined a very important phrase on his 1980s television show Cosmos. He would often say, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." And that is the route that NASA is taking with their latest discovery on Mars. In the year since the leopard spots were first discovered, scientists from around the world have been trying to prove that this is not a discovery of alien life. Just look at how many names are included on this research paper. If the evidence can hold up under extreme scrutiny and no other reasonable explanation can be found, then it might just be enough to be considered extraordinary. And that is where we are right now. There are only two other potential explanations for the leopard spots that could disprove the alien theory. One is a high-temperature reaction. The dark patterns could have been formed by very hot water in the range of 150 to 200 degrees Celsius that interacted with the rock at some point billions of years ago. But the surface of Mars is cold, and there's no evidence to suggest that this riverbed was ever subjected to high heat of any kind. We also know that Vivianites specifically can only form at low temperature, and it would actually have been destroyed by heat if there ever had been any. So this probably didn't happen. And explanation 2 is an acidic water reaction, which says that the spots might have been formed by a very long-term exposure to a very acidic liquid. But there's no other evidence in the rock to suggest that it was ever covered in acid. In fact, they also discovered a mineral called olivine in the same rock, and olivine can't form in an acidic environment. So this probably didn't happen either. And that leaves us with the alien microbes. In this case, it's the only theory that can't be disproven. So by the process of elimination, it's the theory that is most likely to be correct, which means that for the first time ever, we can confidently say that there was probably life on Mars. And this is wild. It would mean that life is not exclusive to the Earth. You don't need some incredibly rare set of circumstances for this process to begin. All you need are the key ingredients, which is basically just liquid water and organic matter. And anywhere in the universe where we find those ingredients, we will find life. But unfortunately, we still can't say this with 100% certainty. And that's because we know the evidence is not complete. There is only so much that the instruments on board Perseverance can tell us. This is a mobile research laboratory that was blasted into space and then landed on Mars. It can do a lot, but it can't do everything. There are so many more tests that we could run on the leopard spots if we had access to the sample here on Earth. But we don't. And it could be some time before we ever do, if ever. Perseverance has collected 27 rock cores from the Jezero crater and its surrounding riverbeds. It cuts them out and then stores them in metal tubes that are then left behind on the surface. The plan was always that another Mars rover would follow along in the near future and collect the samples, then load them up into a return vehicle that would blast off from Mars and eventually land on Earth with the rocks in tow. Mars sample return is complicated and expensive, and as of right now, the US government does not want to pay the cost for NASA to complete the mission. They'd rather someone else do it. And even though NASA has more experience landing on Mars than any other organization in the world, in fact, the only other space agency that has ever landed successfully on Mars is China. The Chinese have their own Mars sample return mission planned. It's scheduled to launch in 2028 and arrive back home with the Martian rock in 2032. The Chinese can afford it. They probably have the technical capability to pull it off, and now they know exactly where to go looking for the first real evidence of extraterrestrial life. Not that it should really matter who discovers what, right? This is about science, but it also does kind of matter, doesn't it? This is science that will change everything we think we know about life and the universe, and NASA is so close, yet so far away. But it's important to remember that none of this is impossible. The money is there. We just need the collective will to spend it on a project that will be hard, that might fail, and will have a timeline that extends beyond the 4-year election cycle. So, it very well could be that a discovery like this, the first real evidence of extraterrestrial life, is exactly what we needed at this moment to remind the people in charge that NASA science is important, that it's worth investing in. One way or another, the truth is out there. All we need to do is go out and get it.